So recently, as we were returning from this wonderful and beautiful vacation that I managed to manifest for myself and for my family, we stopped at this dam place that was very beautiful. It was like a very beautiful dam that had boats traveling all over it. It had islands with churches, and it was just all beautiful. And we settled down in this one restaurant where we stayed for like an hour. But before we settled down over there, we went right near to the dam and we were just looking at it. We were in the awe of the beauty. And whilst this was happening, I was thinking to myself and I was solving a very, very important problem that needed to get solved. Otherwise, I would be just overthinking for the rest of the day. And that problem was that I was getting negative thoughts into my head. Probably like all throughout that day that we were returning home from that vacation. And yeah, I just couldn't handle it. They were just constantly coming. I had no idea what was actually happening in the first place. Like something like this wasn't happening for the past like couple of months, so I needed to get it solved. And so, as I was just there, standing and thinking, I realized that the reason why I was overthinking so much was because I actually had nothing to think about anymore. Because when you think about it, when you're in a stressful situation, you overthink so much, so many negative thoughts get into your head. But by that same token, it's like two sides of the same coin. On the other polar side of the spectrum, if you have nothing to think about, then that will also breed negative thoughts, right? It's the same energy, it's just a different rate of vibration. It's like if I put you in a room full of darkness and full of light, you wouldn't be able to see in either of those, right? So it made complete and utter sense. It wasn't that I was necessarily stressed, it was that I genuinely just had nothing to think about anymore. And why was that? Well, because I fell for complacency once again, and I realized that the skills that I've been learning, like manifestation, discipline, stoicism, willpower, productivity, and all of those wonderful skills, I pretty much settled for that current level that I was on them. I thought that pretty much everything that I already had to know was already finished, and that I didn't have to go and advance further, which is just completely idiotic, because God created an infinite universe. So why should there be a start and an end? There isn't one. There is just the here and now. Because when something is infinite, and when I say that the universe is infinite, I didn't mean like infinite in scale. I meant like infinite in details. Because I mean like if you just scale down, you know, in length, you will see that it never ends. And yeah, sure, we can argue about the Planck length and stuff like that, but if you actually research those things, that actually only implies the things that we can like consciously perceive, which is like 10 to the minus of 30th meter or whatever. But it goes way deeper than that. It is just, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't looked into this that much, but that's basically like the Planck length is basically like us being able to perceive those things basically. And so it goes way deeper than that. And if we flip this on the macro scale too, we live in an confined world. Not because the world itself is confined, that it is limited. No, our minds are limited, meaning that the things like start and end, you know, time and space, they're all just illusions that our finite mind has created because it cannot perceive more than it more than its level of consciousness because a bug's world is only as big as the leaf it is standing on. And that bug is you, and the leaf is your consciousness. But there's only one thing in this entire universe that is even greater, that can perceive everything, that is looking at the universe in such a different lens that you wouldn't be able to even comprehend it because you've lived so long under this indoctrination of your finite mind. But it just makes a complete different sense when you think of it that way. And that entity is God Himself. Or you can call it Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah, I don't know. Buddha, or well, it doesn't matter the physical label. We can call it truly anything, the infinite intelligence, the universal flow. We have so many names for it across so many different religions, but spirituality without the ability to control your reality is vanity. And what am I trying to say by this? The nature of our Creator is that it is infinite, right? And that means that it is everywhere at the same time. And it quite literally makes sense because consciousness is the substance of reality. Everything that you see around yourself has the essence of God within itself. It is just that God carries a different mask everywhere it goes. There's God in me, there's God in you, there's God in this table right over here. There's God truly everywhere. That's why things like manifestation, like, you know, using your mind to control your reality in relation to the universal laws and stuff like that. That's why it works. Because the first hermetic law of the universe is that the universe is entirely mental. And when you discipline yourself to use this power, you can use it to attract quite literally into anything in your life. If you just adjust your vibrations accordingly. And let me tell you, once I realized this, that my view was finite and that there's so much more to explore in these skills, and it was just that I fell for complacency. Or it wasn't probably complacency, it was more like my consciousness stopped evolving. But that's a topic for a whole nother day. But once I realized this, dude, the ideas that I started getting, and this is the point that I'm trying to make in this video. Every single time that you are misaligned with God, keep in mind, God in those two lines as I'm quoting something. What I mean by the infinite that actually carries the entire world, the entire universe, every time when you're misaligned with infinity, you suffer. And I'm not just talking in these skills. No, I'm talking in everything. If you believe that money is scarce, if you believe that there's not enough food to feed the whole planet after our world population exceeds a certain number, then you will suffer. But since God has created an infinite universe, keep in mind we can go extra deep with this, and we can say that there are 9 dimensions out there, and we can only perceive 4 of them, which is length, height, depth, and time. But there are actually 5 of them that we cannot even perceive. We can go that deep into it. But for simplicity's sake, we can just say that God has indeed created an infinite universe for us to enjoy. And we, since are the embodiments of Him, we are the perfect physical expression of God Himself, the perfect physical manifestation. That means that every time when we are misaligned with Him, when we are focusing and putting all of our emotional energy into focusing on the things that don't serve us and instead control us, then we always suffer because God can only give us what we have given ourselves into our consciousness. We don't actually own anything in reality. We only rent it from God. God only gives us whatever we hold within our consciousness, and the things that we hold in our consciousness, more accordingly in our subconscious mind, are the things that we have focused on and the things that we have emotionally charged the most: thoughts, beliefs, ideas, identities. All of these things that we have charged with emotions, where that emotion is negative or positive or whatever, it will always go into your subconscious mind if it has an emotional charge. And if it has, then you're damn right that it will come into your physical reality. And so, yeah, you cannot make anything without God. You quite literally need it all the way. You won't be able to do anything without it. And so, what am I trying to say by all of this? You need to quite literally, as the Bible says, let go and let God. You quite literally need to get your left brain, your left hemisphere of the brain, completely out of the way, and use your right hemisphere of the brain, which is the spiritual, emotional, abstract part of your brain, instead of the left side of your brain, which is the logical, analytical, and basically the one that does all of these things. You can call it the conscious side of your brain. Because all that you truly need to do in order to successfully manifest and actually achieve everything that you wish to is to just think the thoughts that serve you from the end of your destination. So let's say that if you want to make, for example, 10K per month, you say stuff like, I have more money than I can spend. Then you feel the emotions that you would feel upon attaining that reality, because your thoughts, they generate a wave, and that wave gets supercharged by your emotions. So you allow yourself to dwell in the right hemisphere of your brain, which is the emotional and the spiritual side of your brain. And then that emotion then supercharges that wave. And so you quite literally tap into what the Bible says. When Jesus told, I don't know, sorry for the Bible buffs, but I'm probably gonna butcher this, for his disciples, or I don't exactly remember who there were. But basically, he told them, they were fishing basically for fish, and he told them, cast the net to the right side of your boat. And when they did it, they pulled out so many fish that they weren't even able to pull the net itself. But when they were putting the net into the left side of the boat, they weren't able to pull out anything. And this is what I'm trying to say. When you dwell in the left side of your brain, the one that is conscious, the one that is looking around yourself and that is judging reality based on its 5 senses, then you won't be able to get anything. But if you dwell in the right side of your brain, which is the spiritual and the emotional side of your brain, the abstract side of your brain, then you will tap into quite literally what the Bible says about letting go and letting God. Because you quite literally get out of the way. And you will start to get inner intuition from the infinite itself. You'll be in alignment with God, and you'll finally be able to dwell, to get His knowledge, and to finally carry out your manifestations across all 3 planes of existence: the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. You'll finally be compelled to take the right action if you just step out of the way and you just allow yourself to dwell in that peace, or in that calm, or in that serenity, or in that joy, or in that happiness, whatever that emotion may be. And that's how you get out of the way. And you allow the infinite to do the work for you. But of course, you still need to take physical action, but that doesn't mean that that physical action has to be hard or anything. No. You'll be able to get it in the most efficient and the most easiest way possible. And so yeah, that's the game. That's why you will never be able to do anything without God if you are misaligned with it. And I showed you how you can align yourself with it finally and use it to your own benefit. Enjoy, my timeless reader. And by the way, if you want to supercharge your growth on self-mastery, on manifestation, and in these skills like stoicism, discipline, willpower, productivity, then you can check out my Timeless Reader's Mindset in the description. It is truly something life-changing. And yeah, don't worry, I won't give you impractical theory like, I don't know, that they taught you in school, for example. No, I will actually give you real knowledge that you can implement into your life each and every single day, diligently, and you will be able to quite literally achieve anything that you wish to. First link in the description, and just look at these people. They haven't even seen a single life lesson from that course, and yet they have benefited so much from me. But of course, no pressure. It is all up to you. Thank you very much for watching this video, and remember, no one is better at being you